listeners, Harika here, and I'm super excited to welcome you to UppTalk. If you're ready to learn and get your hands work wonders in the world of information technology, then you're in the right place. When I say UppTalk, we are not just another edtech company. Consider we are your learning partner committed to unlocking your full potential. Whether you're stepping into the world of technology for the first time or looking to advance your career, we provide top-tier, hands-on courses to build up your career. Let's take our first step towards learning here and explore it.
What was the report that we created? I think it's you created. What was the report name? I think new report is not created. We thought to create new report or supply the existing report. We thought to create a new report, but I could not find the time to create the report actually. Let's create now. Our objective is to have multiple business objects that we can have. Each grid in the layout, yes, and different grids for different viewers. What is this data? That we are being supplier, data bank account, data bank statement, maybe bank account statement lines. I do bank statement lines as a data source. Since it is indexed, do you have anything of preference here? Bank statement lines from account or bank statement lines from account within data, and I think this should work. I think this should be any specific data. Statement data. Statement line data also. Statement line data also needed. No statement. Data is fine because generally a statement. What else? Statement line amount. Currency also. And currency. Statement line amount has display. Currency rate type. Currency rate type. Currency rate type. Unstatement state. Unstatement. Status bank account, bank statement status and orders. We have some to reach now bank. Account may be activity type. Let's say whether it has it or not. You can take the cash activity category. No, I think the amount we have already taken. Line amount, no. No, it should be currency statement status. I think debit or credit. There is another column, debit or credit. Transactions, let's see if something exists. The possible transactions. Have surprise. And another thing, how can we know that this business have object, has any? Audit trail. Is this object, this business object, this one, does it have any audit trail or not? I mean, is there any events are logged on the business object? Basically, why you do audit trail? Just to know the transaction changes, something else. That's what. We did it. When you run a report at statement level, you have audit trail actually. There, you can know. If we go to object level, you will not find anything because I will do this business already. Generally, for every instance in Vega, you have an audit trail actually. But for something related to finance, parameters will not specific to finance, but there is not a kind of data in Vega. This is at the kind of field level. Once you actually let me run a report, I'll show you how we can actually get this information. Let me run the report at free level. You cannot see whether it is actually any type of all its kind of things. We might get city. City bank account. You can select all these accounts if you don't have the data in this. Better select our accounts. These are all dummy ones. No, someone if someone you would have created. I think we should be getting the data. Take some few minutes. Let's see some data confidently. Corporate. Now we have bank account and the statement. You're asking, let me see if I can take a blank. If I don't have any bank accounts, let me change the field type. Basically, if you go to that particular data field, financial account, I think it might be a financial account. It might run with bank account. There are two bank accounts. Ultimately, let me see. One is takeable and one is global. I think this is global. There should be. You already have any other fields. And another thing, there is a BVO called taggable. I mean, what is the use of that business subject actually? Because when I see many of the business subjects contain this kind of taggable BVOs as a field, why should we have that one actually taggable BVO? You are seeing that in the fields. Even think this is the BVO, the taggable. Where do you see it taggable? The business object is taggable. Business object is taggable means it's a kind of object that will connect to some of the financial objects. Actually, you can take that as a related business object. If you go into this taggable thing, something we call it as in functional area. If you see that call something called system functional area, something similar to that, you have a kind of taggable instance that will be linking to the objects actually. But it is generally having most of the things as a work tag. Most of the fields are. Work tag is something where for any kind of cost centers, for any kind of cost. The bank account we have taken, it must be a work tag. Type should be work tag. When you go to that particular business server, you have some objects. This you can use as related to the business server, business object under these business objects. And when you actually go from here, when you create a custom report from any of these business objects, you can take this as a secondary business object. But you must be already aware because you're having your hands-on reporting now we have. Actually, there is another one, bank account for bank statement lines. If we let him it, there is another field for bank statement lines. I think take that one. What is that you mentioned? Bank account. Bank account for bank statement lines. I think this one will generally work. Thank you. We see now we have Citibank. Checking is coming as a kind of valuable bank account for bank statement. Now we need to have some related object data or we go with parent object only with all the grids. Let's see the charts should be working. Let me answer it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. There is a reason why the report is not showing up there. This is one of the things that you need to remember that in child when we discuss only advanced report can be extracted with layout rate. The same we are seeing now. We will be able to switch into the word layout actually. I think the value should be defaulted. I'm just checking with this something or not. How many rows are there? We just need to check with them. You can take this or not. If you see here, if you go for this one, they have this one. You are asking about origin information. No? For bank account or general paying bank accounts. Thank you. Anyway, soon be fetching this into layout actually. Financial account is something starting. It might be Citibank. It's a little thing for. I don't see anything of value, but I'll defaulting to bank statement actually. Let's see what is written. Business bank statements. Back statement. Is there any static value for statement or should be generic? I think once we select the bank account, then it will be giving the account statements that are related to the bank account. I think instead of determining default value trend time, we better specify the value. For bank statement, no for financial accounts. Which of all you are saying? I mean, not a determined default value at runtime. We better specify value. You don't want something, you have something. Then better select the Citibank. I think all this should be. I think then for statements, I think we can suppress other fields. I think we better suppress the field that it will not be there in the, but also keep having guys. Thank you. As you mentioned, it has a determined value at runtime. I think it should be changed to. No default value. You said there is no. No, it's not default type should be no default value. You have anything as not required. You don't want to have prompt. If you change the default type, then you should not. No default type, no default. Now here it should be corrected. Should be Citibank, but for the remaining two, I think it should be no default value. For this one, it should be no default value, and even for the above one, no default value. Then suppress those two fields. Again, the determine default value. It came determine default value. As I know you should feel fine. Thank you. 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 What we have. You don't have any related. Now we have all thing in parent. That should be fine. Correct? Now we set a table. Let's have some basic data. Thank you. Thank you. First, I'll insert some basic data, then go for all the grades, and then play around. Insert table insert. I can actually insert a row from here also. Thank you. Thank you. Now I'll go for. First, configure fields here and then go for grade. Actually, to just understand what is it in what kind of thing. Now we will start keeping the grid here. We added some columns at row level. We will start at grid level to see. Now I'm setting a grid. Now we have a grid here. What we're going to do is make a couple of columns just to what was the number of columns. It was 5 or 6 that you said. 5 columns should be there. Thank you. Thank you. Now we have one grid with 5 columns. Actually, now what you wanted to have data in all the 5 columns, data in all the columns, and when one populates, the other should be blank, or when the other populates, the one should be blank. Is that what you want to? The requirement. Sometimes it will be blank, sometimes it will. I mean, generally, when the debit amount is there, then create amount will not be there. Only one side of will be there. The request is whenever there is no transaction. Whenever there is, a data is blank. They should not show in the view whenever there is something data that should be showing. I mean, it's fine. Even if you show the field when it is blank, then it will also be fine. But I mean, actually, in the report also, we have the column create and debit because all the debits and credits are coming in one column. We have to segregate them into 2 columns. One column is because here the line items, one is debit and someone, the second one is created. But actually the statement line amount should be bifurcated for debits and credits also, because we have to take one calculated field. Statement line debit, statement line credit, and here debit and credit are coming in one. Then one column should be debited and one column should be credited. You want in that way that you can have both debit and credit in a separate column. Great. Is that what you think? That's true. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. We have Let's get this one to make. Anita, one condition is already there. Is amount is debit or is amount is credit? I think one. Is it delivered? Is it? No, not delivered. Already, one condition is there. Is credit or something? Is credit, I think. Is credit. Is space, I think. I think one is there actually not here. I think it's not. It might have been not there. But what is this? Amount status, you are saying no. Amount status. Let me see if we have something called amount status. It's not amount status. Column field name might not be amount status. I think because it's already true or false condition. What I want to take is amount status. If amount status is equal to debit or if amount status is equal to credit is what I wanted to take. Will that be? What do you see? Amount status is a kind of single instance field that will give. I mean we can create in this way debit the value there. Debit and credit. I think debit and credit should be equal to dir or cr. I think we can take that one. Debit, that's fine. Equal to no, I think equal to dir. Even this one is fine. Even this one is fine. Thank you. Thank you. I think yes or no should be fine. Or you wanted to have yes or no should be fine. If you have yes as credit, yes as debit, that should be fine. From the column A, since we have created two towards conditions for debit and credit, will that be fine if you get a certain for each credit? That will be fine that we can have that validated in layout actually based on that condition. when you're updating any fields in the report, whatever the updates that you're making. Data source will actually capture those updates. You need to refresh your data source whenever you're adding new fields or new data to the report. Thank you. Thank you. Now I added Boolean values. I am going to update the data source now. Since we added Boolean value, we get is credit is debit. I will take this into the data source that the validation rules will be more accurate. Since we have BIRT some fields, we shall be updating the source also. Now let's say now this is a grid. Actually we have column 1, column 2, column 3, 4 and 5. Now let's say I need to refresh this data source. I think cache activity should be fine. Which one cache activity? No, whatever the is, credit and debit. Have added. I'm not seeing this parameter object. Just trying to refresh that one. And now we will go to what actually. It's a potential to be good. Oh gosh, activity is one thing. This was the first one that I will be scripted. I think instead of bank account statement date would be fine. Because at the header level, we have that bank account, I think. What is the resist statement? Date, statement date. If it is a table, you should be seeing something sequential. Actually, if there. Are multiple data elements under this, you should be seeing multiple rows actually. Or, since it was single instance, you're seeing these things actually now if you don't want. Have when it is false. If you don't want to have that value itself populating, based on this, you can write a condition. Based on this, you can write a condition. Let's say, for example, we have cd web. Which one is actually false? Is created. Now we have this, one is created. Now let's say you wanted to. You don't want to have this entire thing to not to pop it when this is blank actually. What you do, you'll actually hide. In this one with your visibility. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. This is the layout. This one. 21st tier 9. Thank you. Thank you. In that way, you will be writing your conditions. Based on that condition, the value can be accessed. Actually unhide it or hide it actually. Anything can happen. Based on the true or false condition that you define, it will be hidden or it will be open. Actually, only the thing is based on version. Skip my change. Actually, I'm just checking the version where it is. No, it is not giving the error. No, it is not giving any error. Thank you. Let me deploy this to work there and see. I'll deploy. Customer chain layout, whatever. Basically anything, accordingly, you'll write a condition and make your shipment deployed. Actually, that way you can actually is that what you're asking? The number of grades that we asked, is that what you're asking? I mean, that should be two tables. You can consider it as a table also. I mean, one table should be containing the details. I mean, the header data of bank account or the customer data. Customer related information. The second table should be containing the statement line item, the activities in the bank. Statement, I think, because we are having only one line item for each bank. We are not actually getting. But here we can see there are many line items, yes. But in the PDF we are getting, each one is split into different pages. I think we should be creating a new layout because we do not have any layout in that report. I just deployed. No, I did not deploy, I just deployed. I just deployed. I did not deploy that. I get the first time. You did not see that. Thank you. Since you are getting all the bit in multiple, PDFs, because there is a different row for each of the line. Each of the line there is a different row. That is the reason it is actually getting. You're seeing 323 rows in the report. Actually, you'll be getting 323 statements. You're getting the same. You're getting the 3. Layouts actually it will create 323 pairs of PDF it will create, but it will take time. It will take little time actually to generate a 323 statement. It runs in the background. When I click on notify my later, you should be reading all the knowledge instead of creating. That many pages of PDF can't we show it in the sales? I mean lesser pages by showing the line item detail in maybe 20 rows per page. Or that because it is taking multiple pages for each line. It should not be that because here we can see that multiple line items are there in a single page. Everything takes from the report. Actually, if you see here, we have all the lines from the report actually. That's where your bird will understand the report XML and will be updating the data. Whatever your report line is actually giving you the same way when it prints bird is nothing, but your report is data is getting printed in the text. Your data will be obviously in multiple rows since every Citibank bank account. Here will be a kind of different statement date and statement. Amount kind of things you should see. But here the statement date is 31 of Jan. For at least for January, it should be taking. Maybe if there are only 10 lines for 31st of Jan, it should be there in a single. In that way, what you can do is butt in. Instead of doing that in Bird, what you can do is you can actually get all these things in your external multi-instance calculate. That you will be getting everything in a single column. You don't need to go for other columns. What you need to do in order to get that one, your report should be tweaked accordingly. Accordingly, your layer can be returned, the data. Since now you have multiple rows in a report. When XML generates an XSLT transforms that one. It is actually taking that as two separate rows. That is the reason why for each row there will be a separate statement. Now let's say in real time, if you wanted to have something to be, you wanted to have a kind of result to be seen first something other than what we have seen here. You wanted to do some kind of checking on 3024, actually 3024. When you are actually printing 3024, you should be getting the same one actually. In that case, what you need to do is you need to do a kind of prompt for the report. If you prompt for the report, it will give you the same instance that you are valid in the prompt. It won't get updated. Actually based on the number of rows that you see in the report. You see number of splits in the PDF file. Actually, if you don't want to have that many rows to be populated, you need to convert that single instance to multi-instance. And then you will be seeing everything in a single column actually. What we can do is, there is another way that we can do instead of getting this in multiple rows. In layout itself, you want to have for each of though it is having a 323 records. Everything should be under one table. If you want to get that one, we need to have alignment in the layout level also. We need to have something at layout level also. Now we have statement line amount for one of the record. $49. If I print this one, I will say they would have been already printed. 3-pointer, that is taking time of you. You want this to be in a single. Rather than multiple rows and multiple columns, you want to have this as a single column. And the single column is what you wanted to have in the output file. You want to have it in the UI or output file. Is that in the UI or output you're asking? One thing is through character fields. You can change your report view and accordingly, your layout can change actually. That is one thing. There is a possibility actually. Unless you're seeing this in a multiple rows, your layout can actually, if you see something, I think you can generate this in XML, I believe. We generated XML how BIRT will read this entire report is. That's fine. Authentication. When you actually generate this XML, you would have seen some XML layout, but can understand one. One XML load means one record starts with, the ends with. That's where your report will understand. To extract the data for that particular row, actually since everything is sitting in a single XML load, your system will consider that as a one row of the output for it for the bank account kind of thing. Since you are getting multiple accounts, in that way your layout also will be taking each XML and will be operating as a separate row actually. In that way your layout will actually, but I think through calibrated fields, even if you make, we can't write condition there. We can't write condition there because everything, whatever we've taken in the layout is based on the business object only. That should be. But how your layout will be reading is based on XML. Let's say if I have one example, I can show you here in the screen. Try this thing. The other way that I am thinking is, since we are actually getting that in a PDF format, since we don't have every data to be populated in a single row, it has to be populated in. Your layout can be shown all in one actually is what your expectation is. Since you are getting that in a PDF format, will that be if you get an output file? Something in text format or just a PDF? Can we get the data in text format also? We can do. Integration we can do actually. Using integration, I mean apart from integration, can't we get the data in text format? Without doing any integration, because we get the data in the form of a CSV, Excel or PDF. And some other requirement, even for the customer client, is also to get the data in text format. We need to have an integration actually. Data has to transform. Data has to transform because the report will just run the data and give you the output file. Actually, that is a kind of you will download in an Excel. But if you wanted to get data in a text format, which is your need, you need to attach the same report, whatever you have created, attach the same report to the integration and select the text format. That's it. It will generate the data in text format. It's not a complicated one. You can attach whatever report that you've created. I can just show you. You can just, it won't take much time also. Now let's say, where is the report? This is the report now. This is the report I have. But through integration, we can actually transform, do a kind of access it and get everything in a single actual. Just to show you how simple it is. Thank you. This is custom report transformation actually. When you're going with custom report transformation in the EAP, it's not complicated. You're not making the things complicated with code actually. I'm putting it off. You just need to give pxt as a file extension if you wanted to get the file in text format. Name, you can give anything, but the file extension should be pxt. Actually, since you have selected transformation option, you should be seeing something called configure transformation, and if your file needs to be in a text format where comma should be as a delimiter or pipe should be as a delimiter, you just need to select that. If pipe needs to be delimited, it will be selecting a pipe, or if it is a comma, it will be selecting a comma. But all the text files, the delimiter will be comma only. But if you want to have something in a pipe, you can just select the pipe actually. Now integration is ready. If I run this one, test file will be generated. Simple, but only the thing is your requirement whatever. You want to have everything should be in a single column to get that one way. Need to change the transformation, but outside of that, your data will be populated as how you want it to happen. Now running the integration just to show you the output. The file is done. Generated. You can see data will be this actually. We have selected come as a deliver race income. We can get pipe as a deal. The pipe will be there. That way you can get actually and now if you want to have everything. Now you're seeing everything in a single row for each of the record. But if you wanted to have everything in a single column, to calculate field, one thing we can do, and I think it's operating correctly only. It's operating correctly since we have given 2 or 4 threads. I think we have selected multiple rows at the time of uploading that one into. I think even this is also operating correctly only. We have selected here grid. Let me do one thing instead of grid. Let me select a table to see. Sometimes bird will behave little. We are actually, if you make change, you will start doing some errors. I mean at the end of some, we could see some error. You can see here, just to see if column binding has a refer to data set column. Does it exist? What we can do is, we have a table. Where is the table? Thank you. There is something in it is actually looking at. Grid that consists of this record, and now we have got table 8737. Table ID, that is, this is 48. This one, it's thank you. when you write, when you're making a BIRT, if you're getting any errors, in PDF, it will not show any error. Only in HTML, if there is any error, your layout will show another. Only after that fixing that error, you'll be able to generate a statement or generate a PDF in Workday. When you're making any kind of development, as how we are seeing the error, that error you'll be seeing only in HTML view. That way, it will be showing that your statement has an error. Only after fixing that you should be able to do. The reason why we are getting is somewhere in the tablet 40, tablet 37. This has been referred to the data set, which is not existing. Actually is what it is saying. We need to find out which dataset column was holding this value. But that's something else that we can fix. But only the thing that I am looking at is whatever the data that we are getting in a single row that's actually expected, even with integration, also until unless you do a kind of customized transformation. Whatever you're expecting, you should be getting, but the standard output, whatever we generally see whenever you run a report or whenever you get an Excel, download it with the report. You should be seeing the same kind of behavior actually. What you're getting is what is expected. Now, if you wanted to do any kind of logic here, unhide, hide, unhide, unhide. Unhide based on any kind of condition, as how I've written a kind of condition similar. Kind of condition you can write, and if you're having a little more kind of scripting in Java, you should be able to control something entirely which you can control actually. That way we should be able to handle. Now the basic BIRT design, inserting a grid. It inserting a table, inserting different data set in a single data set. I mean adding parent to child actually. Getting that data in a table and binding that one and merging this with a common header. Distinct primary business object. All these things you are able to see and you are able to understand. What is this? What has to be done kind of thing. Understood. Kind of making a kind of conditional execution in the layout writing conditions by getting into the value adding if else condition kind of thing. Understood. What is still that you wanted to learn in BART? 4 to 5 sessions actually. But what is the entire full cycle? Kind of BART statement that you wanted to learn. And see what are the things that can be added in the layout. I mean, when we create the, let's say, any new layout, it is asking me to actually select one of the following layouts. One is blank. The other one is multiple columns. I mean, if you open a new report or new layer, new report. New report, it is asking for multiple designs, multiple types of designs. One is blank document, the other is something. I mean, let me create one that I can tell what exactly I am seeing. In the layout, you mean to say, sure, you're going to create now, or you're going to create it for tomorrow's session. I'm trying to create this one actually. When I try to create this one, I can see one is blank report, the other one is simple listing, the another one is group or listing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Here we will get a group option. What it will do is to group multiple columns into one set. Actually, that you can do actually grouping. I've done a couple of times on those grouping section. If you have, let's see if you have a statement line, a statement. Line B statement line track statement line 4. Now we have something called a statement line 5 or total amount. You can say statement line amount 1, statement line amount 2, 3, 4. You can summarize it for the statement date, because for a statement date you can have multiple lines. What it is, you can group all these things and do a kind of aggregation. You can group all these 4 columns and do some kind of calculation actually. Here and do. What are you saying? You mentioned something. I was mentioning. You can summarize. The date of a statement date. For a statement date, let's say for 30th of September, you can have the total of the statement lines. You can do. Totally, you can do. Total. You can do aggregation. You can do by grouping only. You can group all the data and do a kind of aggregation in total. That way you can actually perform some kind of. I mean, can you give me the example from this one itself, this one we have? Is this amount? We have only one amount. We don't have multiple amounts to actually do. The kind of application you can do on a single column only. No. If you see the report, we have multiple line items for a single date, but we are not having here. No, we are having a grid actually. That's why we need to have something in a table. If you have in a table, we have multiple, where you see multiple lines in the report. This is for 31st of Jan. Checking account, you have statement data 31st January. All these I want should be summarized. I mean aggregator. This someone you want to be aggregated. We can do that. We can do. that actually now we need to say we are getting all these lines in the layout or not. Thank you. What are the topics we have in BIRTA actually? We haven't seen that curriculum. Which curriculum, BIRTA? BIRTA is completely a development, layout development. We don't have the curriculum. You have that. Activity gate, in that you have all the list of the topics. It's about activity gate. You have the content also. If you go to the first 3 pages, you have all the content. That's completely activity guide, plus topic list also you have. Whatever the document that I've shared now, you have all the content actually. I think we will be covering all that. All that content. Be covering everything. Now far, whatever we have done, we have actually tried to insert layout, do a kind of calculations. Calculations in the sense do a kind of multiple business objects having a kind of table. Secondary business object into the primary business object, doing that one writing conditions and making a kind of table. Kind of if else conditions is what we have seen far actually. Grouping aggregation is one thing that we need to do. But heavy customization we are not going to cover actually. Whatever the JavaScript and all that's not part of actual standard. That's not part of standard. I did some kind of study and I have implemented, but that's not part of standard actually. Whatever as part of standard BIRT content that Workday offers, we are going to offer the same. All those things. You should be able to get all those things. Outside of this, if you see something that is missing, you can let us know. You can find all the list of the topics in the document that has been shared. Actually, ideally, we will follow the same actually. Since it is not a kind of complete generally, we develop as a kind of package. We will provide a complete TOC, tables of content for all the, since this is a single kind of skill set. We actually shared a document that you are asking, and whatever the topics that are covered, in that document we'll be able to talk on all those technical things actually. What should have this? If you see something that you would be needing, you can let us know. Only the thing is, instead of grid, whatever we did inside a grid, instead of grid, we need to integrate. That's what you want to say. Grid we can add to summarization or a grouping. We need to have a table. Actually, we need to have a table and doing the grouping and aggregations to get the totalized value actually. That is the reason why whenever we ran in the grid in the layout, we were getting only single row of the data. When we actually insert that in a table, I'll show tomorrow. Actually change this to table. Within table add one more table and add all the rows of the data and see how we can actually get some kind of aggregations, some kind of groupings and all how we can actually group the data and all we can actually see. Fine, those two will be a kind of objective for our tomorrow morning session. And outside of this, any other requirement that you have something that you're not able to understand the document and you wanted to do as an activity, you can let me know. We can do that and probably can do that as a kind of hands-on. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel For more information, contact us sales@uptalk.com.